Jonathan is going to simultaneously make lunch while letting people in, which is a sign of a true Zoom champion this many months in. Just give it another minute. Couple more people calling. Just gonna give it a minute till I see everybody who's calling in landed, and then we will go forward. Okay, I see more faces. I think I'm gonna get the meeting started because there is in theory a lot to talk about depending on the folks on the call. So I just want to be a human about this really quickly and say that I'm going to do my best to lead us through this meeting. I do wish for other support. There's a lot happening, and I've been thinking through a lot about how to navigate some of what we might talk about. And I'm just going to straight up say, because many of you know me, this is really hard, and I will try my best to take us through. And at some point, I might look to the group to sort of help move forward through some of these topics and even how to say some of the things. So I appreciate everybody's support and also for calling in and trusting me as your facilitator to facilitate. So I wanted to open the meeting actually a little bit differently. I wanted to start first by reading the mission of the IVCN because I don't think that we've gotten to do that in a while. I thought it was an important beginning. And then we'll do a land acknowledgement, and then we'll move forward with some shared voice, hopefully, about how else to talk about what more to acknowledge. So I just wanted to start us off by reading the mission. The mission of the Isla Vista Community Network is to foster and maintain a committed network of people and organizations who strive to improve and enhance the quality of life in Isla Vista. The participants build and strengthen relationships with one another, share information and resources, and initiate cooperative action in response to current and emerging needs in Isla Vista. And if you haven't heard that before, that statement is on our Facebook page, and so you can read it there. I thought it was an important and actually really potent and relevant thing to bring forward into this meeting. So I want to also open us off with a land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that this virtual meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Chumash people and pay our respects to elders both past and present. We honor the traditional territory as well the story and contributions of the Chumash people to the land upon which we gather and create. And then I also wanted to make an acknowledgement for the events that have happened in our country in the past week and a half. I want to acknowledge the egregious murder of George Floyd by law enforcement in Minneapolis, and I want to call this meeting in with an acknowledgement that Black Lives Matter. I don't know how best to say that or how else to say that, or if there's more to say, and if anybody else has different or better words or more words, I really just want to open this up to the rest of the group to carry us forward from that statement. So if anybody else wants to add anything, I invite participation.
Hi, Gary Gaston, UCPD Community Outreach. I just want to thank you for that acknowledgement with regards to Black Lives Matter. I was assigned a detail months ago, and then on 2 separate occasions to do a security detail for the founding mothers of Black Lives Matters. And I will tell you, it's changed my life. So I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. Thank you for saying that also. I appreciate it. Okay. I also wanted to, before we go into more introductions, acknowledge that there's a live broadcast happening now of George Floyd's memorial from Minneapolis. And so we did set our meeting for this time. And so I also just wanted to mention that to this group that is taking place, as well that at 12:45 p.m. there will be an 8-minute and 46 seconds of silence in honoring of George Floyd. And so I also wanted to bring that forward to the group because that's happening during this call. I'm not sure if we wanted to pause the call for it, acknowledge that it's happening. Anybody that wants to participate might want to go off the call. And so we can just maybe take more voices in about these things that are happening simultaneously during the space that we're holding. Yeah, without making any decisions or anything, I'll just move forward to introductions, I think. And I'll just go down the line as I see it on my screen. So with that, I'll start with Viviana.
Viviana Marzano, Office of Student Life, UCSB.
And Gary, since we're next to her on my screen.
Gary Gaston, UCSB Police Department, Community Outreach Team.
And Jay?
Jay Freeman, Isla Vista Community Services District, Goleta Valley Library Advisory Commission, not representing anyone but myself today.
Awesome. Jeremy? Jeremy, did you hear me? Muted.
Yeah, sorry, Jeremy, apologist, Food Not Bombs volunteer.
Thank you.
And Food Co-op board member.
Thank you for saying that. Joan?
Hello, this is Joan Hartman, 3rd District County Supervisor, and I wanted to acknowledge that on May 18th, Gina Fisher became the mother of Carter Sidney Anderson, 6 pounds, 6 ounces, 19 inches long. He arrived a couple weeks early, and I'd like to also introduce Naomi Kovacs next to me here. She is helping us out. She worked for a long time in D2, and now she's helping us out in D3, and will be interacting with Isla Vista as well as doing a lot of scheduling and special research projects.
Welcome. Thank you for coming to our meeting, and congrats to Gina. That's amazing. Mom. She used to work at the co-op long ago. I was her boss when I ran the deli, so it's incredible she's now a mom. Lisa, first co-op Lisa, then other Lisa. You guys are next to each other on my screen.
and we're both Lisa O. Lisa O, the Food Cooperative Board of Directors.
And I'm Lisa Osborne, KCSB 91.9 FM News and Public Affairs Director.
Leonore.
Hi, everyone. Leonore, St. George Youth Center.
And Lori.
Lori Goodman, Isla Vista Youth Projects.
Awesome. And Holly.
Hi, everyone. Holly Mays. I'm the Assistant Director of Governmental Affairs with Associated Students at UCSB.
Awesome. And Gina?
Hi, Gina Sawaya, organizer with Food Not Bombs and Eco Vista.
Awesome. And George? George, can you hear me?
Sorry, I was on mute. George Turlo, UCSB.
Thanks for calling in. And Jonathan, who might still be making lunch?
No, you got me on a good time. Everybody, this is Jonathan from Isla Vista Community Services District General Manager. Thanks for holding the space. Black Lives Matter.
Second check this front, please. Second check this front, please. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. And Justin? Justin, did you hear that? Maybe. We'll let Justin slide for a minute. We'll move to Luis.
Luis Valerio, Isla Vista Recreation Park District Recreation Coordinator.
Awesome. And Kenny?
Hi all, I'm Kenny Morris. I'm with Isla Vista Housing Coalition and Santa Barbara Tenant.
Awesome. And I see Justin unmuted. So Justin, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry, the whole phone and computer got to me. Justin Schroeder with the Sheriff's Department, Isla Vista Community Resource Deputy.
Thank you. YouTube Live, we are recording this, by the way, I should have mentioned it. Jay is recording. That's the YouTube Live that you're seeing on here, so you can refer back later to the meeting. Thanks, Jay, for doing that. Derek?
Hi, everyone. This is Derek Marzano, civilian community outreach member with the University Police Department.
Yasmin?
Hi, everyone. I'm Yasmin Solari. I'm the External Vice President for Local Affairs with Associated Students.
Awesome. Welcome. And Deborah?
Hi, everybody. I'm Deborah Anderson. I'm the Assistant General Manager at the Isla Vista Community Services District.
Great. And Bianca?
Hi, everyone. I'm Bianca Orozco with Standing Together to End Sexual Assault.
Great. And Mariam?
Hi, Miriam from the Pardall Center.
Thanks for calling in. And Kimberly? Kim, did you hear me? It's okay. We'll come back. I see somebody called in with number 14. Are you number 14? Would you like to introduce yourself? Okay. I don't know what that number means. I'm sorry.
Hey, Melissa. I want to get a number.
Yeah, you can have a number. You can just next time. Just I don't know how that works.
Number 14. I like that.
Okay. Thank you all for calling in today. And if we missed anybody, just raise your hand or let me know. So I wanted to check in and do a temperature check around the agenda that I tentatively tried to put together. I'm not sure if everybody had the chance to read over it. And I kind of wanted to just know from the group if that felt appropriate for this group, how we'd like to navigate, if we wanted to move anything around in the agenda. I'm looking for any other ideas for how to structure things. So if anybody has a thought, now is a great time to help us. Okay, so does county on the call, law enforcement, NAS, like our usual updaters, we all putting you guys at the end of the call? Does that feel good for this meeting? And we'll kind of start with what I had put down around community conversations. Does that feel useful for people? Does it feel comfortable?
One thing to note is that today is the LAFCO meeting, and so Joan will probably have to leave before the end of the meeting.
Okay.
It depends on when the meeting ends. I don't know if she hasn't said anything, so maybe she doesn't.
Yes, and Jay does too. He hasn't said anything directly either.
Well, but I'm not the county. But I'm not the county update. So it was the idea that you were the county update getting moved to the end of the meeting. I can just watch the video later. So.
Do we feel like is there lots of county updates? I mean, we can talk about it based on what we're updating. I'm not sure. It's hard to know.
Sure. There's three things in addition to introducing Naomi. There will be a cannabis workshops virtual about the retail in Isla Vista on July 1. And then we're holding budget hearings next Tuesday, and the county is using a lot of its reserves to get through this first year. And so the budget is going to be really, really tight given COVID. And then I wanted people to know that there is a county resolution coming forward in support of Juneteenth, which is commemorating the end of slavery. And the county will be having a meeting where we look at county policies, county programs, in HR, in planning and development, in kind of across the board. What more can we do Obama was fond of quoting the arc of history bends towards justice, and after Trump was elected, I had to really question that. But this is a moment that we can use to really make change. politics is the art of the possible, and as tragic as this is, the fact that people are standing up makes things much more possible than they were before. So we have to make that happen.
I also, so
Yeah.
I also have an update from Public Works, or a note I wanted to share. So Public Works is actually working on an ATP grant right now to try to complete a lot of the infill and safety improvements that have been on the list for IV for a long time. So they're going to do a short survey and at least one community meeting to ensure that the plan still reflects community's desires now. So the applications will be due in September 15th, but the Public Works is wanting to get the word out and hoping that this group might be a good way to get the word out, that there'll be a survey and that community meeting. So I'll have the link, or I'll have Brittany from Public Works. One of us will send you the link to the survey and a date with the virtual town hall meeting. So we hope you guys will participate.
And as Naomi mentioned, Public Works, as part of helping small businesses deal with the COVID and reopening and social distancing requirements, Public Works is expanding and taking away, not charging fees for restaurant space out in the public right of way. And then planning and development is looking at how, if people want to be in parking lots or setbacks, how they can expand into those areas as well. And so that is relevant to Isla Vista businesses for sure.
I emailed out to the group, if you're on the IVCN list, the information from County Public Works. And so you had gotten an email, I think I sent it Tuesday, maybe Monday or Tuesday. If you didn't see the email and you'd like it resent, just let me know. I can also post into the group on Facebook. Okay, any questions for Joan or Naomi about things that were mentioned?
Hi, this is Spencer. Thank you so much for the update. My question is there any update to, I know there were some plans possibly in the works to close down Pardal in order to have socially distanced dining on the streets, and similar to the model of State Street, wanted to see if there's anything new to report on that end.
I asked specifically about that at our last board meeting, and I think there's tremendous potential, but it'll have to come kind of from some center of energy, whether it's the business association or the CSD, or working together with the businesses on Pardal and seeing whether there is that kind of interest. As you know, it's done for certain festivals. It's long been discussed, but here's an opportunity. So maybe we could, maybe we could continue. We could set up a small group to work on this going forward.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that also, if there's anybody who feels inspired. I don't know if it's like CSD should be bottom lining that type of meeting, or if it's community action. Spencer, Jonathan, do you guys have any?
Sure, we'd be very happy to be strong advocates for this. We've spoken about it at our board meeting, and we've spoken about it in the reopening committee that a number of you were a part of a couple of weeks ago. And I think that it's a great thing for us to be doing. I don't know. I guess I'm a little confused because I was under the impression that there was a ordinance that was going to be passed and that it was sort of already in the works. Is that not really the case?
What has taken place so far is to allow restaurants to expand in the right of way where there's still enough room for pedestrians to get through. And in some cases, they can actually be in the street. It kind of is a location by location analysis, but we can't block pedestrians, but we can work with the public right of way. In addition, we are now working with a different county department about parking lots and setbacks that are private land as distinct from public right of way. But we don't really have anything in the works now to close down Pardal. but now is the time if we could get some community interest, particularly the businesses along Pardal, to say this is something we'd really like to see.
I just have
good to know.
Have they been made aware? Because I thought I got from an email that did go out to them already, letting them know about that. But I could have misinterpreted that email. But it seemed like I was CC'd on an email to business.
Yeah, my understanding is it's only about the right of way and the setback and parking lots. That it's not yet about Pardal. I'll check on that, but I think we have to get now community interest expressed so that we can take, that it justifies focusing on this at the county. We don't want to force something onto the community that it doesn't want.
Sure. Well, we'd be happy to lead that effort if we're the right group to do it and have a hearing where people can show up and talk about how beneficial this could be to the community. Sure.
Well, I would be happy to join you in sponsoring that. I think the key is to get Jay, you used to be involved with the Business Association. I think it waxes and wanes. It's been extremely difficult with the closures of many of the businesses. Could you give us any advice?
I mean, I don't know if you've talked with, I'm forgetting his name now. Jonathan will know his name, the father of the person who you broke up, sorry.
Oh, David Singh.
David Singh. Is that his name? Let's start with a V. Viren.
Viren's
the son, and Veer is the father.
Veer's the father.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, So Veer is the person who's been putting a lot of time into doing business community organization recently. So you might want to try talking to Veer.
Okay. Well, that sounds like good advice. Let's start there.
And Diana did put a comment to everyone that she wants to ask for any consideration of expanding spaces for business to also include the needs of street vendors, which I think is actually amazing. And one thing I was gonna kind of ties together and maybe threads forward into more community conversations is, there's the COVID piece of things like closing the street to create more spaciousness for social distancing. But then there's the community gathering outcome that can still happen through us as a community choosing people over cars, especially at a time, I think, when creating public spaces that can be used for community engagement and gathering, even with social distance practice, feels really important. And I can picture this ongoing dream that a lot of us have had about doing things like, giant dining room table down the middle of Pardal to encourage community building. Not that we can do exactly that with the COVID circumstance, but I also can see a way where this could be a really important and beautiful opportunity for us as leaders and multi-stakeholders to not just close Pardal for the benefit of business, but also for the health of the community to have a reason to kind of start showing up on the streets. That's not necessarily about, partying. So I can see this being a really neat, other outcome of that, especially at this time. And maybe we're looking for more ways to have a reason to be together. So I'll happily support and be a part of any of the meetings towards that.
Wonderful. Well, my dream is a car-free IV, but we start with Pardal, and if we have a number of different factors that are pushing us in that direction, and then we can see like State Street, where it's a really vibrant experiment that brings life back to some place that wasn't so lively. So it's an opportunity, and let's make the most of it.
Awesome. So for action items, the CSD, maybe we'll take point and call the hearing, and then we can just start sharing in our network and then in our own networks about that. Does that sound good?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Great. Are there any other questions or comments regarding county updates that Joan and Naomi discussed? We'll move on. Okay. So going back towards the agenda, I think I just wanted to sort of bridge that towards community conversations. But I put on the agenda, which Jonathan actually helped support this, which I'm grateful for, was idea of personal or workplace reflections and or further actions or considerations of Isla Vista community support opportunities towards Black Lives Matter or any of the many entities, or, you know, whether or not specifically engaging around BLM as the outcome, things that people are thinking into about how we're all feeling. Like, is there a space for IVCN in this conversation? Is there an opportunity for us to make a statement as shared stakeholders for the health of Isla Vista? As I read it in the mission statement, it isn't our mission to initiate cooperative action in response to current and emerging needs in Isla Vista. I would consider the demands of Black Lives Matters at the protest to be, you know, a really important lens of reflection for how we as leaders want our Isla Vista, our beloved community, to really be, you know, shaped through some of what's happening now, also through some of what's already happened here. And, you know, so yeah, I just wanted to put that out to the group. I put a couple of examples. Serge posted some email templates to send to the county, and I'm sure that, you know, our county supervisor on the call has received. I know that I got a nice response back. Thank you. So anyway, just not to keep talking, but to open it up to the rest of the group about that. Sorry if I fumbled. I'm trying. Anyone?
So I'll say that I think in some sense it's all of our responsibilities to kind of think about the fact that, like, I mean, everyone's got their various missions and everything, but if everyone's got their missions and there's we have to put aside the idea that we are focused on some particular subtopic in order to be able to make certain that something that is just so important and endemic and so long standing of a problem is something that can actually be addressed by everybody standing up and pushing back.
So yes to that, and then from that, are there particular things, which is hard to say because this is like an ongoing, it's a systemic problem that leads to many opportunities, and I'm not sure if there's a unified voice through IVCN or if anybody in their own entities has you know, been doing anything specific that feels important to share to this group, even to consider how we could align on a larger level.
Melissa, I do feel that, you know, we have students of color in Isla Vista who many times have not felt safe, or they have been actually singled out, or they have been discriminated. So I think it would be nice to do something. Regarding to your question, you know, Just Communities yesterday published a statement. And in that statement, they also publish the demands, and next to each demand, there is an email address for people related to that demand that we as a community, as individuals, can send emails to. There is also a list of anti-racism, a reading list, you know, of anti-racism work. And there is also at the end a list of local organizations that have a focus on, Black leaders or issues related to the Black community that I would be happy to share. Also, yesterday, the Student Affairs Division also sent an email, and there is also a pretty comprehensive list of anti-racism readings or organizations. So if you think the group would be interested, I can share those things.
I'm a yes to that. I think it's, yeah, Just Communities is an incredible organization, and I think any of that sort of resource sharing that's already happening that can be kind of put through the same pipeline, and that's kind of what I was thinking about, like shared, you know, unifying the work a little bit and unifying our voices as we all acknowledge the serious systemic broken system that some of this is happening, you know, that we're operating within. And I don't know, my brain is going to like, could there be, please take this as just a nugget of like looking at these book lists. You know, I have ordered Me and White Supremacy, that's the book that I could best choose for myself, but publishing some of these reading lists, and maybe, you know, an entity like the co-op ordering some of these books and having them out in Little Free Library. Like, I don't know what the best way to sort of like help, if IVCN is best as, you know, a pipeline of resource sharing and information, or that we're actually sort of putting through more like action steps. Maybe those are the action steps. I'm not totally sure. I don't know what the best role of us is. It could be as resource sharers, and that could be really great. Any other thoughts about that?
That statement is also in Spanish, you know, so we can share it with our community.
Awesome. Yeah, please send anything that you think is valuable to share, and you can definitely take point on sharing.
A question, Viviana, what was the name of the org that you mentioned after Just Communities that had the resource of the reading?
It's our division, the Student Affairs Division, and wrote. I can send Melissa all those, you know, like the list and the messages and stuff like that, and maybe, you know, you can distribute, Melissa. I don't know how you want to do it.
Yeah, I can start with the IVCN list in the Facebook group, and I think anybody from IVCN should just feel free to say, hey, like they can just share it out. So I think if we act as like I'm picturing IVCN as like an octopus head, and then there's all the tentacles, and so people can start to kind of take stuff that we're vetting maybe as the CN and sort of rippling it out, so that we have more of this sharing happening, but it's starting from some centralized place that we all are feeling, you know, connected to. Does that feel useful for the group?
And I put a link just now on Friends at Isla Vista this week. Ethan Bertrand and our reporter Kali Aqua just had a conversation about what it's been like for them as mixed race students in Isla Vista. It was a pretty nice conversation. So I just put it in the side in this chat for anyone who wants to hear that.
Awesome. Is there anybody on this call from UCSB that's connected to the UCSB Reads program? Because that's something that popped in my head with all of the reading lists that are coming out. And I'm wondering if there's any action happening on campus around just picking the right book.
Melissa, somebody in my office is on the committee, so maybe we can get it from them, some compilation of some of the proposals in past years, because there is always something related to inclusion and diversity and race issues on the list. So if you want, I can also do that.
I'm just wondering, I'm thinking a lot about just like what we're talking about, like if you start, you know, at like a nucleus and like what creates the trickle out, and, you know, sharing, you know, book clubs are really powerful things. I picked up Me and White Supremacy from a woman who's the partner of one of our workers at the co-op who's in a book club, and that's the book they're reading right now. And so, you know, sharing in some of these books, thinking about our entities, maybe saying like, does the IVCN want to have an ongoing book reading list? You know, like, I don't know if that, again, like not to oversimplify or to kind of overarch like the resources that are being shared, but sometimes the sharing in education with learning some of the same words and the same conversations can be helpful. So I'm thinking of ideas, honestly, and I unattached outcomes. Well, I'm attached to an outcome, which is that we fix this broken fucking system. Sorry I said that, but unattached to how we get there first, you know, with the group. So any other thoughts around things? I don't know other people in their workplaces right now, if there's anything being talked about in terms of resources or other workshops that are being made available, maybe people in the community that we can even start considering, I don't know, as teachers.
Hi, this is Luis from the IVRPD. I know Yasmin from the EPLA office reached out to us regarding doing some kind of visual event of some sort, and we also just internally have been discussing the thought of some kind of mural or some kind of art installation in the parks. And of course, this would be a great community effort type thing to get people input, get local artists. And this is probably a great forum to discuss what kind of art what kind of messaging we want to have displayed. I think art is also, a great way for people to connect and, so that's something that's been in discussion, very preliminary, but, just definitely want to bring that up to the group here and share that. I don't know I think Yasmin's on this call. I don't know if she has any more information regarding what kind of ideas she was kind of thinking about.
Hi, yeah. So the vigil was the idea of two students who were at the protest on Saturday. I'm waiting on them to kind of tell me how they would want to go about it instead of like me deciding for them. But I think their idea was to have some kind of vigil for everyone to come together on Sunday, hopefully. And on another note, the AS execs and I have come up with we came out with a statement yesterday about the ways that associated students would go about addressing these issues in our community. And from the sentiments at the protest, I think a lot of students are happy about sharing people of influence in the community sharing resources, but I think they're looking for concrete steps from us about what we're going to do. And from what I could tell, people were a bit upset over the chancellor's email that didn't really say anything other than here's caps and here's care, And we came up with a set of concrete steps that we're going to do as an association that we're going to be working on, which would be addressing campus policing reform and academic success for Black students specifically.
That sounds so important and so incredible. It's incredible to hear of the work of our student government. AS never ceases to amaze with how fast y'all take action and can really come up with things that are really tangible and really important for the student body, which sometimes, administration and people that work so separately from the ground level, do their best with some of the messaging. But I think that this is that moment where AS and the power of the student government can really make big change for campus and communities. So that's incredible. The mural also is an amazing idea, and I put that in the chat. Art, music, food, dance. Art, music, food, dance, smiling, universal languages, things that have us, not need words as much. Not that words aren't critically important for how divisive or unifying they can be, but the idea of doing this in a way where we use our universal languages and maybe need less words could feel, or, choosing really good ones. So I am down to support any murals. If the muralist needs snacks, I guess individually packaged because it's still COVID, the co-op can certainly support. What a great idea.
Melissa, I also want to mention that we have a brand new department at UCSB, which is the Black Development and Engagement Office. It's a department. The new director started in January. They have an assistant director. So I think if people are interested in connecting with them, I can also make that connection because this is the perfect time for them to work on things.
Hey everyone, this is Spencer. I love the idea of doing some sort of a mural or art installation. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to see in the city of Santa Barbara, there have been 2 new murals that have gone up in the last probably 48 or 72 hours as a tribute to Black power and racial justice. And I think that it's a really cool project. While it's not quite the policy change that we need to see, it's still a really nice tribute that I think people need right now, just given all of the many emotions that we're all feeling. So I just wanted to point out that the CSD has money allocated in our budget specifically for public art, and this sounds like a very worthy use of that money that I would be very supportive of. So would love to get in touch with you, Yasmin, and talk more about how we can help support that.
To take a subset of something that Spencer just said, which I think was, I really want to underscore and really raise the importance of is the, that, while that isn't the policy change that we need, and somehow when my thought, when I sit and I think, okay, we're going to do we're gonna do murals, we're gonna send books, we're gonna do various things. It just starts to feel a little bit in the same sense, same like vein of the complaints people have about like, well, I get your thoughts and prayers, but what is the concrete action or change? And the problem though is that I'm not certain what the concrete action or change I should be doing right now is. But I mean, I would love. I mean, if only somebody could tell me what that was, I would love to try to figure out how to pull it off. But it does. But somehow just telling people that I want to support them doesn't. I don't know, it just feels flat.
I would love to also share in this conversation. So this is Diana Puente, and I think that what is really coming to my mind very much right now is, as I think others have spoken to, is the centering of Black voices, Black experiences, and Black demands. We have heard both at the local and at the national level very clear guidance from our community about next steps that we can take. I think that doing our own development, our own growth is such an important part of that. But also, as folks have said, statements of support without action is not necessarily the most productive thing for us to do right now. And I would think that when we're thinking about both as IVCN, but also within our organizations, the opportunity right now that we have to reflect on our missions in our work and how our missions connect to this work. And also, what are the policies within our organizations that need to change, that need to really be able to support in centering Black experiences and Black demands. I will share with you one of the amazing things that happened last night at the AS Senate meeting was that through the advocacy and through the centering of Black women's voices, the Associated Student Senate passed the establishment of a Black Women's Health Collaborative and funding of $250,000 to support the work of that collaborative. That was not a small feat to identify from where to get those kinds of funds. I think that the demands that have been made over this last week are not new demands. It's been, of course, demands that have happened over generations, and that we can consider always how do we support those demands in the Isla Vista context. We, I think, know of the work that we need to do in our community around community policing, around issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and thinking through that lens of whatever it is that we have the power to do, not just to share our resources with each other, but to leverage our resources to this aim. And that those efforts need to be long-term and sustainable, right? That whatever our responses are right now, we must think about how we're going to continue to come back to this and continue to work on it both individually and together as a community. I think part of the conversation, even about how we are showing up in these public spaces, as we know, we've talked about the crisis of racism as a public health crisis and recognizing what that means, especially in the advent of COVID-19 and with folks going out into the streets right now, putting their lives at risk on all of those levels. And so how do we identify that those things are actual public health emergencies for us in the moment? And how do we dedicate the resources to treat it as a public health emergency? So I would love to see an opportunity for really concrete steps to come out of this, and certainly probably not one meeting, not even the series of meetings, but an ongoing prioritizing of this conversation that I think that we can do. I think that we have an amazing opportunity within IVCN to put it into our structure to think about how we're going to continue to come back to this and to support each other in holding ourselves, our organizations, and our community accountable.
Yeah, I think, Diana, I think you hit it on the spot. And like there are demands, and we can, as a network, support them and ask our county supervisor and county sheriff to implement them. There's a lot of things that we can just get behind that we don't have to make up. There's some research to do. There's a website called Campaign Zero that kind of lays out like 8 reforms to police that would reduce violence. And city of Santa Barbara's only done 2 of the 8. I don't even know how many county of Santa Barbara has. There's no data for that. But that's something that we would not, we're governed by the county sheriff, and those 8 policies could mean someone's life in our community. And so we could support the demands that already exist to have those 8 things implemented here. And I know one thing that's been talked about in Isla Vista is the civilian review board on policing, and that's one of the demands too. It's not made up. Like Deanna said, it's been going on for a long time, so we can recommit our efforts behind things like that. And not just, I think the demand is not just a discussion board, but it's like an actual oversight citizens commission above the police. And that would be important. It's what the demand already is. So it's not even what I think, it's what Black Lives Matters thinks.
Those were really important. And I was trying to write down, taking some of the important moments from what you both just came out with. Does it feel like if we're calling this, which it is, like it is, we're community, like this is the work for our community, and I'm trying to determine if it should be in like a breakout meeting where people that really want to start to dive into this conversation and these actions happens outside of the regular IVCN meeting, or that we reserve time in the meetings always to to tap in about progress that we've made. I'm not sure exactly the best next steps, so I'd love any insight in how we can move, because I agree about all of that. I mean, there's action. We're a small community also, and I think Isla Vista is poised uniquely. As I talk about the co-op being like a well-curated tiny grocery store that still deals with all of the things that you deal with at a big giant supermarket, just smaller. Isla Vista as a community deals with all the things that big cities deal with, just smaller. Do we have an opportunity in the smallness but significance, small but significant, of Isla Vista to look at how we can affect change, because we have these networks and we have shared stakeholders, and we have 3 law enforcement officers sitting on this call. We have the county supervisor on this call. We have folks that are change makers. How can Isla Vista be continuing to work and to push ourselves into being an example of what's possible? And again, not to oversimplify, I know there is a shitload of work to do, but are we that community? Are we that not city? We're basically a city, but so I don't know, next steps, any ideas?
If I may, this is Joan. My preference would be in some way to keep bringing it back to the network, because I think we all participate, whether there's a group that kind of tees it up for us, but I don't want to see it shunted to the side. I think we want to pull it into the mainstream. And this is already on my calendar, so I want to be a part of it. So that's just my thought.
Thank you for that, Joan. Any other thoughts? I see Lisa.
I was going to say something similar. Possibly have a smaller group on the side, but bring it back to this meeting to at least show the results and maybe get some feedback.
I agree about that. Also, thinking into, we have lots of meetings, and I'm aware of, everybody's time and the preciousness of time. And also in this current moment, like this is obviously, it's not a done deal situation where we're going to write a letter and like, that's that. I'm wondering if there's anything as a group that starts with faster action, maybe direct response to some of the demands of BLM. We do have all the email addresses quite accessibly. I'm not sure if that feels like a good beginning for a unified statement from IVCN that can then move forward into maybe a breakout team that starts to really go in towards some of what Diana and Jonathan both talked about. But coming back to IVCN for the ongoing touch-in with those folks that come to the meeting. Does that feel useful? Do we want to make a unified statement as the network? I'm happy to write something if that feels like something people want but don't have time to put into, or that is not what our action item needs to be, and it is that we support a breakout group that wants to really deep dive into more of these things.
I both support the letter and the idea of a breakout group. I just am not certain like what I would write in the letter. So I'm very excited by the idea that you're saying that you would be interested in. I mean, I would love to, but I think the breakout group might be important because to try to really like give us the time and focus and attention.
I think. Sorry, I'm looking at Viviana's comment. I wrote, I am happy to take point on drafting a letter that really is mostly in the context of the Black Lives Matter's demands as they most pertain to Isla Vista. I think that I can pull that off. And I also would very much welcome as much support or feedback as possible in how I would construct a letter like that, trying to write with shared voice. So if this group wants me to try, I'm happy to try and bring it back either via email or even in our meeting next week, because I don't think that it's necessarily a rush. I think it's an important thing no matter when we're able to make these statements that we are, taking our time and really coming up with the best way to say it.
Melissa, I would just suggest that as we think about a letter, that we don't think about it as a statement.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we think about it as our commitment to specific action.
Mm-hmm.
And if
That's
maybe a question for this group first is, would we want to adopt the demands of Black Lives Matter Santa Barbara? And so it's not about, I think, so much writing a letter. I think it's about then doing what they've asked, which is reaching out to each of our elected officials with, under the umbrella of IVCN to make those demands in alignment with Black Lives Matter. I think then the content of the letter really is just saying, we are down. Like we believe in this and we're going to make our voices heard.
Yeah, thank you for that clarifying bit. I think I chose not the right words to say. I think what I would like to do is take the BLM demands and put them into a letter that is us aligning with those demands and that we are making a commitment to action from that. I think that's how you're saying that. And maybe we can talk offline about how to best phrase what would be contained in this. Like, yes, we are here to support this. And, it's been interesting to think about it in the context of Isla Vista. A lot of us have been around this table in this meeting for a lot of years and seeing some progress in the community. And it's been very interesting to reflect on our Isla Vista like 10 years ago, even like pre-shootings and like where we are now. And it's interesting here because it turns so much and it changes all the time. And, we don't have the benefit of continuity of citizens like other communities have. And there takes a real need for strong leadership in our multi-stakeholder, iteration of a tiny city. And so I think as I was looking at, reading the demands and writing my emails to our elected officials, it was interesting to think about it in the specific context of what's possible for Isla Vista. And I think a lot of us have seen some of what's possible. It's not a perfect outcome, obviously, but there's a real chance here for us to do what Diana is saying and to really hone in on what is our commitment to what specific action and what does that even look like and how do we do it. So
I have to go. This is Joan.
Yeah.
Naomi will be here, so I just wanted to not disappear without saying goodbye.
Thank you for calling and participating. It means a lot.
Bye.
What do you think, and just thinking out loud, and to whatever extent that's helpful, what if if we thought about it already in steps in terms of the first step is responding to the demands from BLM by writing to our elected officials as IVCN. What BLM organizers have asked for is that we don't change the content of the demand itself, but that we do add our own reason why we believe it's important to stand behind BLM. And so I think that maybe that's the statement that we could be adding to all the communications that we have with the local elected officials. And then maybe a second thing to consider is that we consider that within the larger context of what else we're going to be doing. That's just one immediate step that we're taking, but that then we're committing ourselves to developing additional action steps and begin to formulate what all those look like, including, as you said, breakout groups, but the continuing work of coming back to identify those areas where we need to take action. That would be some thoughts about a way to maybe begin to frame what we're going to do immediately as well as in the long term.
That sounds great to me. I appreciate you saying that. And as you are so good at doing, just like unjumbling where I'm at and just like putting it out on the table with really clear action. Is there anybody that feels like they want to participate in any of the email writing? They're pretty, there's templates already. Again, I'm happy to help be a voice for that. If anybody wants to help, you can like email the chat or you can email my GM email address maybe. I'm happy to take like an organizing role if that helps, if people like that idea.
That would be great, Melissa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for responding. Sorry for I'm trying my best to navigate all of this without having all of the right tools with which to navigate. And so I appreciate everybody's patience. As I want, it's interesting to sit in a leadership position right now and to want to be honoring that space as a leader, but also being a little unsure about what that exactly means. So I appreciate support in folks giving me the little pushes that I might need to own that role a little bit more. Cool.
I don't want to take up any more room, Melissa, but I want to just acknowledge what you said and recognize, I think all of us are just trying to figure out the ways that we move forward, and that's often with a lot of missteps along the way. But we have to just keep kind of allowing ourselves to be in those places of discomfort and of not getting it exactly right, and to continue to listen and reflect and move forward again. So I appreciate that.
Thank you for saying that. And I think, we're almost at 1 o'clock, so I just want to honor the time. I think that Diana actually is the person that said this to me years ago, and it might have been the best advice still that somebody's ever given me through some of these not comfortable places that I have found myself over the years. Get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. Just get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. And that's sort of something that I've come back to a lot, especially in the last week, coming back to that place and whatever that feels like. So I always appreciate Diana's advice to me over the years. Okay, so we are, sorry, somebody else. Okay, so we actually are at 1 o'clock. It feels like in the, of course, I put a lot into an agenda, but I do feel like we came through this meeting with some good actual concrete next steps, including responding to the demands of Black Lives Matter by writing to our elected officials from the voice of the IVCN. And so, as mentioned, I'm happy to help organize that, steer some of the writing. If anybody wants to read those emails or offer a voice, please just shoot me an email so that I know you want to participate. That would be great. And then step 2, as proposed by Diana, is consider those demands in the larger context of what more we can be doing and committing ourselves to coming up with more action steps moving forward. Maybe in the next week's meeting, we can consider breakout group formation, or I might even pop out an email to start that. Or if you're already on this call and you're like, hell yeah, put me in the breakout group, let's go, just shoot me an email about that too. And then we'll just keep planning to have this an ongoing conversation for all of our IVCN meetings. Dismantling a broken system and systemic racism to make our community a healthier, better place to be for everybody feels really important for the IVCN, and feels like, can't rally around that, then what are we doing building community? So to that, I will say it's 1 o'clock. I do know that I put on here the move out planning update. And so I don't know if anybody, Jonathan, do you need to jump off right at 12 or at 1, or can you hold on the call for a minute? So I don't keep the space open for anybody that wants to stay on the call to talk about Isla Vista move out specifically, or if there's other updates that anybody really wants to share that is not directly related to Black Lives Matter or further organizing. So I can stay on the call. Anybody obviously jump off since it's time. And if you want to stay on and talk about move out, we've made some progress. There's some cool things coming down. So maybe we'll give everybody a minute to disengage, and then we can re-engage for anybody who's left. Awesome. And thank you to everybody for being on the call this week. Okay, great. I see people. Okay. So does anybody, before we jump into move out, does anybody left on the call want to offer an update from your org or anything happening that we didn't talk about yet?
Yeah, I have a quick announcement here. Next Wednesday, June 10th, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., we're going to be holding a public meeting, a Zoom meeting. It's going to be regarding the expansion of the community gardens. We are looking to, we have a whole plot that is available that we just cleared out that we want to do some raised beds. We're looking to input 8 4x6 raised beds in, hoping to get some people off of our wait list. I've been on the wait list for years. And that's going to be kind of like our first expansion project. We're looking to actually create also a communal garden as well at Estero Park, but in a different section of the park. So if anybody wishes to join, we're going to be kind of presenting kind of our draft design, going into details of the design for the new raised bed garden and community input. You know, we want as many people to join, give us their input on what they think about the design and as far as the beds and all that stuff. And so if anybody wishes to join, we'll have the information on our website on Monday, so you guys can join us via Zoom and you can see the agenda. And yeah, we'll be on site at the garden, so we'll be there kind of doing a walkthrough. We'll chalk off how, you know, where the raised beds would be and walkways and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be kind of an interactive meeting. So if anybody wishes to join again on Monday, we should have all the information to join the meeting on our website.
And if you have, that's awesome, by the way. Wow. So many cool things coming down the parks pipeline. It's so awesome. If you have info to share via email so we can put out to the group or Facebook, you can send me anything and I'll share it.
Yeah, that'd be great. I can pull up send you the agenda and all that stuff. And you can put it on the Facebook and share it on the email as well.
Awesome. How cool. Thank you, Luis. Anybody else have an update?
Melissa, I don't have an update, but I was just thinking, because we were on the topic of art and public art and stuff, and we veered off before I could say it. I just want to suggest that if there is interest in public art, it would be good to contact the County Art Commission. And one of the commissioners from the 2nd District, where I used to work, she is amazing, and she organized the whole mural project at the Glida Valley Community Center, Mariko Tovar. So I can put us in touch with her, anyone in touch with her, or reach out to the the County Arts Commission, because they'd be a really good resource. And I think, Jay was saying that art may not be as powerful. I think art can be very powerful, and I think it keeps it in our mind. And if we, weave that into the community, that's very important, and it shows what a community stands for. So I just want to encourage reaching out if we do want to pursue any kind of public art.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I totally agree. And I just also want to say, to follow up to that, my friends are the ones that did the mural down on the EOS wall. It's I Can't Breathe mural. It's beautiful. There was not really POC artists represented in that. And so I just want to point out that if we do move forward on this, it's so critical to really seek out POC or specifically Black artists that really need the opportunity and deserve to have this be an action that really comes from the hands and hearts of artists that are representing the diversity of their community. I mean, it's great that there's beautiful murals going up, and I think there's, I'm friends with many artists that are in that struggle moment of how to contribute, and the reminder of the power of art and the opportunity for an artist to be able to know that that is that important and that is action that can affect change. So I really appreciate that you said that. And I think our community is one that can lead because we have a lot of people that are willing to have murals put up on their walls. And so this is an incredible time, and to just really align that towards a community that also deserves the chance to be the artist. So I just wanted to say that also. Any other announcements or updates before we kind of roll into move out stuff? Okay, so I think, Gina, if you want to actually take point on this, because you've been a leader in the community to help us organize, maybe you should talk a little bit about what you've done.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to announce that the county officially dropped off 50 enormous industrial trash bags and 300 pairs of gloves to me today. So I'm going to roll back a little bit. EcoVista is organizing a litter cleanup effort the entirety of Move Out. I think I'm going to target the dates June 11th to the 21st. And what we're going to be doing is tabling at the co-op, the community center, and the Pardal Center. We are hoping to do shifts that last 2 hours where people will sit at the table, hand out bags and gloves to anyone who wants to come up and grab one. Community members will be encouraged to walk the streets of ID and pick up trash at their leisure, whenever they want. And then, since this is going to be more of a virtual event because we can't have any gatherings right now, we're going to be encouraging participants to post pictures of themselves cleaning up trash to social media with the hashtag #Don'tBeTrashyIV, and they will be entered to win raffle prizes. This is to help relieve some of the trash that comes up on the streets that's usually organized by groups such as Adopt a Block and other organizations that can't work right now because of COVID. So we're just hoping to encourage people to socially distance, wear masks, clean up trash on their streets. We're going to be publicizing a lot of best practices. For example, don't put the trash you're collecting in dumpsters that are already more than half full. Don't dump them in the co-op dumpsters or any dumpsters that are being used by a business because they need that space. So yeah, we're not trying to replace any functions of say the give sale, for example. We're going to be publicizing which thrift stores are accepting donations, although it is pretty limited. But I just wanted to make an announcement about that. I would like to send out I created a volunteer Google sheet today, and I'm going to post this in the chat right now. Before I publicize it to a wider group, I just wanted to see if anyone here had any input on it. You can see on this sheet that there are 2-hour shifts, and this is just for the tabling and passing out of materials. The actual volunteer effort can be done. You don't need to sign up for that. You can just go pick up trash, whatever you want, and post a picture of it on social media. I think I've hit all the important notes. Does anyone have any questions about this or comments, suggestions?
The sheet looks great.
Awesome.
It seems doable. And I think at the co-op also, we are happy to have passive supply zone. So that'll be just part of what our endeavoring is, the signage. Hopefully we'll see how it works. But we are happy to let the space be held by supplies at times when there's not able to be people also. Which is great. And maybe, yeah, I just wanted to give Jean a big props for jumping into this role and getting so many groups to connect together, including the co-op, including the community center to be a zone. I think it's really inspiring to see how, even through so much that's happened, including COVID, including this uprising of movement and action in our country, that we can come back to this focal point of the beauty of Isla Vista as a network of humans working together for this greater good right here in our little space. 23,000 people can be impacted by the work of people like Gina, actually, that are taking the time to really inspire and connect groups together. So I look forward to finally working together with EcoVista on a project, which is the first time I think that we'll be working together. And the co-op, just so everybody knows, our patio is going to be turned into a resource zone. We have the food collection barrel already. That's a combined effort of the AS Food Bank, IV Compost Collective, and AS Office of the President. And that has been just gangbusters full of food. And they're coming through and emptying it every day. So we'll have that out. They'll be having free moving boxes. We acquire a crap ton of boxes at the co-op every week. And so we offer boxes anyway, but we're just going to be doing it a little more functionally to also support social distance on the patio. So that will be happening. And then we'll also have the zone for supplies if someone wants to participate in the cleanup. And so we're happy to have the patio become a resource patio while we are not having gatherings. So that should be a cool way to kind of reapproach Move Out from this community-centered direction.
Yeah, I just want to add too that I guess my only asks, because I think Jonathan's still on the call too. Yeah. Jonathan and Melissa, you guys had I have some tables from food bombs that we can use to set up at. I was wondering if it would be okay to use chairs that you guys might have to set up at the table. They also store the table and chairs and the other boxes and potatoes are left over at the space that they're offering, like inside after it goes up. Like I don't know how I can like meet volunteers every day to get the materials and clean up myself. So I was wondering if we could like just keep the materials there. Does that make sense?
Gina, I can't hear a single thing you're saying because there's a lot of typing. So I
Oh,
don't
I'm
know.
so sorry. I was like writing notes and I wasn't muted. It's my
Yeah, and Deborah Anderson, who's on the call, is heading up our move out and all that. So please be in touch with her on those issues.
Yeah, we talked yesterday on the phone. I'm
Yeah,
excited to.
we're good, Gina.
Okay, great. Also, if anyone wants to donate trash bags or gloves, like I said, we have 300 pairs of gloves. That's only like 3 boxes and 50 trash bags right now. I think we'll probably need more trash bags. If anyone wants to donate those, any leftovers can be used for your own organization. Let me know.
The co-op has a case of clear contractor bags that I purchased to try to use on our compost bins, and it was a fail. So I actually have clear heavy duty bag, like a ton of them, I think, that we could just give over for this.
Perfect.
They should,
thank you.
yeah, they should be very heavy duty and they should work. We don't need them. Awesome. Anything else around move out or other things that weave into that conversation? Other bits and baubles to wind up the meeting with? Okay. Well, it's just about 1:15 and I have taken a bunch of action items down, so I'll write emails out. I really appreciate everybody showing up and contributing and helping kind of navigate our way through this space. And I invite any follow-up emails or ideas. There was an ask from Deborah, a great idea to please invite BLM, Black STU, Black Women's Health Club, etc., to be members of and attend the next IVCN meeting. That's a great idea. I don't have necessarily those direct connections, so if anybody on the call has direct contact, feel free to make the contact or ping in my direction. I'm happy to make the invitation. But again, this is a network. Our strength is in our diverse, multi-stakeholder, ways that we can, expand out and then bridge back together. So let's, flex the power of what a network really is and what partnership is and see how much we can weave back together. On that note, we'll see you next week on Thursday, same time, and probably similar type of agenda. And thank you all so much. Okay, oops, I went away. There. Thank you all so much. Have a